Corporate social responsibility is an unavoidable priority for business leaders today. Governments and the public now demand that companies account for the social consequences of their actions. The baseline standard for this accountability was set in the 1980s by Norwegian Prime Minister Gro Harlem Brundtland. She defined sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. To operate under this standard, a business must secure a license to operate. This means every company requires tacit or explicit permission from governments, communities, and surrounding stakeholders simply to function. Earning that permission is a moving target. A company's impact on society changes over time as social standards evolve and scientific understanding progresses. Take asbestos. In the early 1900s, based on the scientific knowledge available at the time, this material was widely believed to be safe. Over the next 50 years, evidence of its severe health risks slowly mounted before any company was held legally liable for the harm it caused. The firms that failed to anticipate the consequences of this evolving research faced massive lawsuits that drove them into total bankruptcy. Enterprises can no longer survive by monitoring only the obvious, present-day social impacts of their operations. Without a rigorous, forward-looking process for identifying the evolving societal effects of tomorrow, a firm risks its very survival. To navigate these risks, we have to recognize a core axiom of the modern economy. Successful corporations require a healthy society, and a healthy society requires successful companies. Businesses rely on specific inputs from the communities around them. They need an educated, healthy workforce. They need efficient access to natural resources. And they rely on good government and the rule of law to protect innovation and property rights. In return, society relies on the corporate sector to generate wealth, create reliable jobs, and drive the innovations that improve the overall standard of living. This creates a continuous feedback loop. As more human needs are met and aspirations grow, expanding demand fuels further business productivity. Yet no single business has the resources to solve every problem within that society, nor can it bear the cost of trying to do so. Social agendas that do not intersect with a company's specific operations must be left to the NGOs and government institutions that are actually equipped to address them. Instead of general philanthropy, strategic companies apply a framework known as shared value. Shared value is the unique intersection where a specific societal problem overlaps with a company's specialized expertise and resources. By targeting this overlapping space, an organization provides meaningful societal benefit while gaining a measurable competitive advantage. Any business that pursues its goals at the expense of the society in which it operates will find its financial success to be purely illusory and ultimately temporary. We can evaluate this intersection across 3 distinct tiers, starting with the most basic, incidental corporate citizenship. Consider General Electric's historical initiative to adopt underperforming public high schools located near several of its major U.S. facilities. The financial commitment was massive. GE contributed between $250,000 and $1 million to each school over a 5-year period. They also committed human capital, deploying managers and employees to work directly with school administrators to assess needs and actively tutor students. This chart shows the dramatic quantitative outcome of the program between 1989 and 1999. In 4 of the 5 worst-performing schools, the graduation rate doubled from an average baseline of 30% to 60%. This success generated substantial secondary benefits. It created goodwill, improved relations with local governments, and fostered deep pride among the GE employees who participated. Strategically, however, there is a distinct flaw. Despite the massive social impact, the initiative's overall value to the corporation itself is inherently limited. Public high school graduation rates do not directly intersect with GE's core technology and manufacturing operations. The connection is purely incidental. As a result, the direct, measurable effect of this program on GE's own internal recruiting and retention metrics remained modest. Writing a large check yields positive societal results, but it fails the test of creating deep, scalable shared value for the enterprise. This brings us to the second, more advanced tier, contextual investment for shared value. We can observe this model in Microsoft's Working Connections partnership with the American Association of Community Colleges. This visualization highlights a critical constraint on Microsoft's corporate growth at the time, a severe deficit of information technology workers, totaling over 450,000 unfilled IT positions in the United States alone. A massive untapped labor pool existed in the form of 11.6 million community college students across the country. However, 3 systemic roadblocks prevented this pool from filling the deficit. IT curricula were not standardized, classroom technology was outdated, and there was a total lack of professional development to keep faculty current. In response, Microsoft launched a $50 million 5-year initiative aimed exclusively at eliminating those 3 specific roadblocks. They did not send employees just to act as generic tutors. Instead, volunteers assessed structural needs, contributed directly to IT curriculum development, and established faculty training institutes. Unlike the General Electric model, Microsoft's social investment was precision-engineered to dismantle a specific labor bottleneck within its own industry. Contextual investments yield higher business returns because they uplift the surrounding community while actively eliminating the constraints on corporate expansion. The ultimate tier of strategic CSR occurs when a company adds a social dimension directly into its unique value proposition. A value proposition is the specific set of needs a company can meet for its chosen customers that its competitors cannot. Whole Foods Market serves as the apex model of this fully integrated strategy. This flow map tracks the integration of their social dimension, starting at the foundational sourcing level. Purchases flow from local farmers through a strict procurement process that screens out nearly 100 common ingredients considered unhealthy or environmentally damaging. This environmental integration extends into their physical infrastructure. Stores are constructed using minimal virgin raw materials, and the company purchases renewable wind energy credits to offset 100% of their electricity consumption. The strategy dictates their waste and logistics operations as well. Spoiled produce is routed to regional composting centers, and their delivery vehicles are converted to run on biofuels. The massive operational scale of these integrated environmental systems dictates the daily mechanics of the entire business enterprise. Even their pure philanthropy, the Animal Compassion Foundation, is designed to develop more humane ways of raising farm animals, directly improving their core supply chain. Social impact at Whole Foods functions as the core operational mechanic of the business, integrated directly into its foundational value chain. When every link in the value chain reinforces a positive social dimension, corporate responsibility transcends philanthropy and becomes an unassailable competitive distinction. This pyramid summarizes the evolutionary gradient of corporate responsibility. The base layer represents incidental efforts, like General Electric's school funding. The middle tier is contextual investment, seen in Microsoft's IT training. The apex is the fully integrated value proposition, modeled by Whole Foods. The efficacy of any of these initiatives is determined entirely by their proximity to a company's core operations. Remember the history of asbestos liability. Static compliance with current standards guarantees eventual obsolescence. Securing shared value requires an aggressive, ongoing pursuit to identify the evolving societal effects and scientific realities of tomorrow. Maximum impact for both the balance sheet and the surrounding community only occurs when social dimensions are engineered directly into the foundational strategy of the enterprise. This video is brought to you by the IELTS FOCUS, Zalo 0847705973, an English center specializing in IELTS preparation. In the modern economy, social stewardship and corporate survival function through the exact same strategic mechanism.